Peace, everyone. This is Elder Jeffrey, St. Louis branch of the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries, and welcome to Friday night Bible study. I have with me the usual cast. We have Shelby Brown, Minister Anthony, and Felicia from
Peace.
Texas,
Peace.
but all part of the St. Louis branch of the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. So, happy Friday night, everybody. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us again. Thank you to Supreme Council for creating this platform. Peace, Willie Jackson. Peace, True Israel. Peace, Tony Walker. Peace as everyone starts to gather. Peace, Lakeisha. Peace, Robin. All right. Peace, Arnetta. Yes, now's the time to get your Bibles. Make sure you got your Bibles with you. Get your notepad, pen, paper, get everything together so you guys can listen, absorb, hopefully, and take notes and continue to study even after the program's over. But even during the program, please lend your comments, your questions. Make sure and like it, like this program. Share it right now to your friends and family so they can jump on as well. We want to make sure we have a very, very robust conversation. All right, Shelby, Minister Anthony, Felicia, how's it going tonight? How you doing? Right now, we are actually melting in St. Louis. It's
Oh
like
my goodness.
triple digits,
Yeah.
literally triple digits.
It's hot. It's hot.
That's all we can say. It's hot. It is. Yeah. I wish we had some of the robes that our fathers of old had. Some nice linen apparel. That way we, just let's to let the wind. It's not even really any wind. It's just hot.
You know,
It doesn't matter what you have.
It's like hard to breathe when you go outside.
Yeah.
The air is just still and thick.
It was even that way when the sun wasn't out. It was just hot.
Yeah.
We went the whole day and the sun was just completely covered, but it was just hot. Just melting hot.
We need another word for hot. That's not hot. We need another word. How's Texas, Felicia? How's it down there?
It's hot down here as well. We have triple digits, but it's not as hot as it is where guys are.
Yeah. Can't
But
believe
it's
that.
still hot. But you guys have Texas beat right now.
Yeah, that's what it's saying. You gave it to us. Take it back.
It's not a good thing. We don't want
No,
that.
thank you.
But I'm excited though. We beat the heat. Thankfully, right, we're all in areas or places where we have air conditioning, although it seems like it's not enough. Thankfully, we still, we're able to be there. And we're here Friday night live. Right, we're here to bring a live lesson. You know what? I really want to just touch on that, right? The fact that we're alive. Not a lot of people are doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And not a lot of people, you have a lot of, pre-recorded videos of people doing things. We are live. So as you guys type in the chat, we are reading it live with you guys.
Yeah.
So this is a very, very intimate Bible study session. And I just love it, honestly.
Right.
Yep. Make sure and turn off your phones. Turn off your phones. I hear phones, somebody's phone. All right. And but yes, good point, Minister Anthony, for sure.
Okay, sorry about that.
It's the Friday nights. It's actually, this has been consistent for what? Has it been 3 years? Consistently. Every Friday night, every Saturday. Like you said, it's live. You're able to ask questions back and forth, dynamic conversations. So yeah. Kudos to Israelite Nationwide Ministries for creating this platform for sure.
I most definitely want to say yes to that. Kudos to the Israelite Worldwide Ministries, because I wouldn't know any of this if it wasn't for Mr. Anthony introducing me to it and having me watch videos as I had questions, and we just walked through it, and that's why I'm here today. So I'm glad that they created the platform and kept going even through, after COVID, all of that is awesome. Thank you.
Continue on. And so before we jump into it, there's two things. I also want to shout out to my brother here in St. Louis. Last weekend, we actually had a booth at the African Artifacts Festival, and it was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody working together. Everybody came through and had different times that they came in and they helped set up, help break down, help have conversations, it was even the little children helped out. It was really, really good event for us at Israelite Nationwide Ministries here in St. Louis. Able to spread the word and able to connect with people. It was really, really good.
Awesome.
We're the only, since you mentioned it, we were the only informational booth out there.
Yeah.
There was no one else presenting information.
Yeah.
We're the only one. So much so that the organizer of the entire event came and gave a special thanks to us.
Yeah.
For keeping the fight going.
Yeah, for sure.
So he's a big supporter of us, and it was truly, like you said, a remarkable event.
Yeah, for sure. So it was amazing, and we had a really good time. And a part of that too was promoting what's going to be happening next weekend. What's happening next weekend here in St. Louis, Shelby? What are we doing?
All right, we having the Bible, the Black Man and Black Woman, coming September 2nd, Saturday.
Yes.
This weekend
right.
at 1:00. It's
Yes.
gonna be awesome. I can't wait. I'm excited. I watched some of the videos of Elder First Priest Doreen and Elder Freddie, and I can't wait. I'm excited to see what the turnout is going to be and what they talk about. Like, I'm excited. It's fun.
Absolutely, yes. Next weekend. This is the third stop on that tour, and so glad we're going to have people coming from out of town. We're going to be hosting, and so if you guys are in the St. Louis area, or if you're traveling to St. Louis, come on out and be with us. So you connect with us in the flesh, and we have some really, really good dynamic speakers, an opportunity for us to workshop and discuss, answer your questions, and just connect. So it's really, really good opportunity. All right, so let's get started. So we are moving on in our series, which is the Book of Judges. And right now we are at Book of Judges, Volume 4. Volume 4, yes. So there's a lot to go through. I know we went through the pass-through, few, and we were like, oh, maybe we could sum this up really fast. But, I don't know. I think there's so much meat that we want someone to live as we go through it, be able to answer your questions as we're going through the Book of Judges. But also, even if someone goes back through these videos, they should be able to take up the videos and understand the Book of Judges completely because they looked at all our videos. And you can't do that in one video, So I'm glad that we're taking our time to go. Okay, all right. Yes, turn them off.
So live,
live, so that's gonna happen. All right, so right now let's get started. Producer, pick up the first slide. You guys ready to jump into it?
Yes.
Judges of Israel, Volume 4, St. Louis branch. So we know Book of Judges. Shelby, kind of, what area in our history are we speaking about? What just happened before we get to the Book of Judges?
Right here, before the Book of Judges.
Yeah.
Oh! This is when we came out of when we're talking about who is it?
Joshua.
Yeah. Thank you. I needed the help.
Yes.
We were talking about Joshua, and we're going into now. We're in our land, and we're figuring out, basically what we should be doing and how we should be doing, except we keep on repeating the cycle of Israel just doing evil in the sight of the Lord, which is, we keep talking about. We don't like that, that phrase, because that's what we keep doing. So
over and over.
That's where we at.
That's right. And so we've gone through this. And if you're not clear on where we are, you definitely can go back to the other videos and we'll fill those in. But it's going to see the same pattern. Like you said, we are, the God of Israel established us in our land that was promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And there are nations that are around us, and we continue to follow their culture, then following our own culture, which is doing evil in the sight of God. And he ends up putting us into enslavement to these people that are around us, sometimes for 8 years, sometimes for 20 years. He kind of goes through different things. And then we cry out. He sends us a judge. The judge comes and saves us from our enemy, but more than just saves from our enemy. Why do we have a judge? Why not just a warrior, but we have a judge? Why a judge, Felicia?
Because not only are they going to judge us, they're going to have us to go back to worship the God of Israel. Amen. And keeping the commandments, statutes, and laws.
Yes. 100%. That's right. And so that's why we need a judge. And as we say, all the time in the judge. When the judge is alive and he's able to pronounce judgment amongst us, we stay true to the God of Israel. And period is like, oh, then there's peace in the land for 40 years. There's peace in the land all the years that the judge is alive, and Minister Anthony would talk about this like, man, I wonder what that period of time is like. To be in our land, worshiping our God, no enemies are bothering us, and we're just living our life. We're raising our family, we're growing our crops, we're having our businesses, we're flourishing, we're doing these things. Can you visualize that, Minister Anthony? What do you think about those time periods?
It's tough, especially when we live in a day and age where there are literally programs set up specifically for our well-being, right? Air quotations, for us to live peacefully or attempt to live peacefully. Whereas in that time period, I can't imagine, right? Literally, it's just you, your brethren, and you're living off of what you have. You, like you said, we're worshiping our God. There's no outside interference, right? It's peacefully, so there's no inside, there's no internal pressure either. You're just living in harmony. Like, only thing that can come close to imagine is when I walk outside and just look up and see the birds flying. That's the only thing that comes to mind, as like they're just peacefully just doing what they do, right? And it's tough to envision, but what a goal to try to obtain, though.
For sure.
Like, what, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is that's the ultimate prize.
Yeah.
To get to that point and get to that level. I did want to say something about the cycle, though, because if this is your first time looking at it and things like that, right? Because it looks like perpetual disaster. And as we know, it's not the case. A lot of times, this would be a completely different generation at the time of these things are going on, right? Like you said, peace for 40 years. Like, man, if you're a young man at that point, by the time things kind of go sideways, you're an old man. So you're kind of just, hey, we shouldn't be doing this or we shouldn't be doing that. But it's unfortunate. But we do have the Redeemer and the God of Israel, which is, it's one of those things where we want to rely on our Father, absolutely, but not in this case, right? We're thankful for His mercy, absolutely. But you don't want to be in this perpetual state of just, all right, I did bad, let me go cry out. I do bad, let me go cry out. Like, that's not the state we want to be in at all.
Painful, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, it's one of those things, like you said, Minister Anthony, a lot of times we go through it and we highlight the bad stuff, which is a lot of times that is the piece to kind of like, okay, yeah, it's like the carrot or the stick, right? That's the stick. The stick is like, okay, yeah, it's going to hurt. I mean, we're not playing around here. Our Father is, Papa don't make no mess, right? And there are harsh consequences that you or your children can face for your disobedience, and not just you individually, but even as a family, even as a nation, right? And we're living it right now, right, in the land of our captivity. But there's also the carrot, right? There's also the part of like, it's hard for us to really imagine being in our own land. Right? It's hard for us to imagine not having to compromise. Like, we can be at peace where we are now, but that takes a lot of compromise, right? That takes a lot of us trying to wince sometimes and not calling out every ball and strike. It's just trying to like, just trying to live my life, just trying to be peaceful, just trying to be a nice person, just trying to, get through my day. But here's a point where you can be authentically, unapologetically deep, into who you are 127%, 24/7, the whole time. There's no compromise. I'm in my bed, I'm in my house, I go outside, I'm at work, my boss is in there, like, I got my days off. And not only do I have my days off, the whole city's closed on Sabbath.
Exactly.
It's just everything that I see, read, taste, interact reflects the joy and of passion and the glory of who I am as an Israelite and our God.
Right.
Honestly, we don't understand what it's like to live in that type of environment. I mean, and that's what we're talking about. It's like, it's a short verse. Oh, and they lived in peace for 40 years. But that's what we're talking about. It's like, they're able to fully, authentically be themselves. And I don't know if we can fully identify with that.
What you made me think about, like the things that I'm going through, even at my place of employment now, right? Like, I have to ask for these days off sometime, and I have to remember to give them to them so they remember all these just restrictions on when it must be turned in and all that. But if the whole environment was practicing and we were in our land, we were Israelites, right? It's just we would be off. You know what I mean? And we'll be
Absolutely.
able to pray and just worship our God. Like it'll be beautiful. I can
Mhm.
only imagine what that's like.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we've had periods of that is the point, and so you also want to take some time to honor that. To understand there are some times we were doing what's right.
Yeah, we were.
We did do that. So we want to applaud our forefathers for doing that, right? Chastise them for the
Oh
bad
yeah.
stuff, but there's some people that there are times when we did the right thing.
Right.
So, what it reminds me of, and I think we talked about this in St. Louis during our Friday night in-person Bible study that we had, I think. And I'm gonna read it briefly. It's Psalms 133. We don't have a slide for it. It's okay. It just came to mind. Um, Psalms 133. So just take that note down, and you guys can look at it when you get back. Psalms 133, very short. I'm just read the first couple of verses. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity.
Mm.
Mm.
It is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard, that went down to the skirts of his garments. As the dew of Hermon, and as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life forevermore. Selah, Selah, Amen.
Oh
Psalms
man.
133.
Yeah.
Amen.
Right.
Just the visuals of that, to me, it just really, every so often I get those little moments, even for us in this Israelite ministries, although we're geographically different places, there are times you may call the brethren and be like, oh, we studied so and so today, and they're like, oh, we studied the same one thing today, like, oh, how did that happen? Like,
In
you guys
unison.
in sync, and we're like, just to get those moments, when we have our services, you feel that oneness, that unity, and it's such a strength. Sometimes it's so hard to really even articulate what that is, but it's a power that's there and a peace that's there, and it's almost like the outside world just falls away.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's just, you're in the moment with your brethren, with your God, and the spirit is just so strong. I don't know, it's just hard to describe, but it's a beautiful thing.
One more thing too, it brings to mind the streets of Jerusalem. That's the Israelite music. It's a song called Streets of Jerusalem.
Mhm.
And it gives you a visual picture of just what it was like to be, in that moment, just
Yes.
talking about. So yeah, I like that song.
All right, so unity and brethren. There's a part here. There's the relevance why we're talking about this. We're going to get to that in a second. Can we get to the next slide so we kind of get a context about judges, the good and the bad, the carrot and the stick? Hopefully, we learn from either one. These are some of the judges that we spoke about already in part 1 through 3. The last one that we spoke about was Gideon. And before we get to this next one, we're going to jump into. I actually want to again put the context together. But while I do that, any favorites, any reflections on any of these? Again, if you guys that are listening maybe the first time have not looked at already, you can go back to parts 1 through 3, and we've talked about these prior judges, and we're just going in order.
Oh yeah. For me, my favorite is always Deborah, because it really illustrates what a judge is and what was needed in Israel. Even as they sing the song, right? And they sing the song how Israel needed a mother, needed that nourishing nature. I just love that so much, right? Because so many times the thought is like, you come in, be a warrior, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, and we kind of forget sometimes that that's not all the God of Israel is about, or even Israel itself is about, right? There's a time you have to fight, absolutely. There's a time that you need subtleness to come in, and that story has everything, right? You have the subtleness as well as the fighting.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes when you look at that relationship between Deborah and Barak and what was needed,
Mm-hmm.
that guidance that was needed, right? To me, it just really brings it out. It really brings out how diverse Israel is,
Oh yeah,
as well as when being chosen, what was needed at the time.
for
Because
sure.
if you just needed a warrior, then anybody could have been chosen, right?
Mhm.
But there was a special characteristic that's needed in order to lead Israel.
Yes, 100%. All right. So last time we did Gideon, and he was successful in, excuse me, in delivering us from the Midianites.
Mhm.
I'm gonna just we're gonna I'm gonna read. And we don't have a slide for this, but I just want to read a little backstory before we get to where we're going to talk about today. This is at the end of Gideon's story because there's a connection. And it's Judges chapter 8, and I'm going to start at verse 28. Judges chapter 8, I'm going to start at verse 28. Thus was Midian subdued before the children of Israel, so that they lifted up their heads no more. And the country was in quietness 40 years in the days of Gideon. Is what we were just talking about, right?
Mhm.
And Jeroboam, which is another name for Gideon, the son of Joash, went and dwelt in his own house. And Gideon had 70 sons of his body begotten, for he had many wives. How many sons did he have?
7.
70.
70.
Yep. 70. How much is a score?
20.
Yeah, so 70, 70 sons. And his concubine that was in Shechem, she also bare him a son, whose name he called Abimelech. And Gideon, the son of Joash, died in a good old age and was buried in the sepulchre of Joash his father in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. And it came to pass, as soon as Gideon was dead, the children of Israel turned again and went to whoring after Balaam and made Baalberith their god. And the children of Israel remembered not the Lord their God, who had delivered them out of the hands of all their enemies on every side. Neither showed they kindness to the house of Jeroboam, namely Gideon, according to all the goodness which he had showed unto Israel.
Hmm.
After all of that, okay. So I just wanted to kind of set the stage of what we're speaking about. Now let's go to the next slide, please. All right, Abimelech. And again, all these pictures are coming from AI. I put in the description a little bit, and this is what pops up. So this is Abimelech. I guess as you go into it, you guys can see, is it accurate? Is it fit? We'll see. All right, you guys tell me, okay? I see Shelby shaking his head. I guess you think so, huh?
Yeah, I do.
Abimelech. All right, chapter 9. Just we're gonna do some reading today, so I want to make sure. So you guys jump into it. Hold on one second. I'm just getting. All right, got it. Okay. Next slide, please. Let's see. Are you able to? I can do it. I'll do this first one. Abimelech, the son of Jeroboam, went to Shechem unto his mother's brethren, and communed with them, and with all the family of the house of his mother's father, saying, Speak, I pray you, in the ears of all the men of Shechem, whether it better for you either that all the sons of Jeroboam, which are 70 persons, reign over you, or that one reign over you. Remember also that I am your bone and your flesh. And his mother's brethren spake of him in the ears of all the men of Shechem all these words. And their hearts inclined to follow Abimelech, for they said, He is our brother. And they gave him 70 pieces of silver out of the house of Baalberith, wherewith Abimelech hired vain and light persons, which followed him. And he went unto his father's house at Ophrah, and slew his brethren, the sons of Jeroboam, being 70 persons upon one stone. Notwithstanding, yet Jotham, the youngest son of Jeroboam, was left, and he hid himself. And all the men of Shechem gathered together, and all the house of Milo, and went and made Abimelech king by the plain of the pillar that was in Shechem. All right. All right.
You know, this is one of those, man, it really illustrates, because a lot of times, like we always say, the Bible is full of highlights. But for the average everyday Israelite, you have no idea what's going on.
Right.
So as he goes to his mother's father's house, and as they go out into the street, and they're telling them it makes sense.
Yeah.
You have no idea. You have no idea that somebody's going to go and commit an evil act.
Right.
It just makes sense. Yeah. Why would we want 70 people running over us?
Mm-hmm.
We
Right.
just need one. Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah, you're a good guy. Yeah, I know you. I know you. I know your uncles. I know your family. Yeah, they're cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're like, okay, and you have no, you know what I'm saying? You have no idea of what's to come or what you're even agreeing to, or
Right.
that is even a bad thing.
Right.
Right.
Right. It
I
probably
think.
just yeah.
I
So
think. I was just about to say. I think it was real slick of him, also Abimelech, which that's why the picture goes with what we was talking about. Cause just think how slick that is too. They don't know, but he's also being very just. Hey, look, don't you want just one person over you? Why all these people? Like there was just crazy how he was just being so cunning, you know. So
so
I beg to differ because they know that these people are princes. They know that they're the king's sons, right? So basically, he's wanting to overthrow the king's son so that he can rule, and and he's making it clear the way that he phrases it. He's not being real subtle about it. He's making it plain. And they gave him money to go do it. And
mm-hmm.
he did just that.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not subtle with it to me. And he's going to his own people, his mother's people.
Mm-hmm.
So they know what he wants to do and they down with it. So
Mm-hmm.
hey,
Mm-hmm.
he's not being sneaky, he's being plain. They
So
want to stop the rule of Israel and overthrow Israel and let the people of Shechem to now be on the throne.
mm-hmm.
His flesh and blood
Mm-hmm.
instead
Mm-hmm.
of them, to
But
me.
so one aspect to remember is as a judge, right? Gideon is gone. He's deceased.
Right.
So there is no de facto leader at this point, right? So it's one of those things where there's no provision for say, hey, once this judge is gone, now so and so take it. Like you mentioned, right? With the king, what the next step is.
Right.
Okay, the king is deceased, his son now takes over, the to be the ruler, right?
True.
This in this case is just a little bit unique, dealing with the judges, right? And what a judge is supposed to come in and do, right? And most importantly, of who chooses that judge, right? If Israel wasn't in bad shape, right, there's no need for the judge.
True.
so and also note that this is so when we look at the time when we are doing evil in the sight of the Lord, a lot of times they don't go into the details of what it is. It's like, well, worship Baal Porah or worship Ashtaroth or the other gods.
Yeah,
And a lot of times we see that manifest itself in quote unquote religious piece. In other words, hey, instead of going to Sabbath, we're going to their temple to go worship their God, that type of thing. But I think here gives it a good example that, well, no, it sort of manifests itself even beyond that to the characteristic and mindsets that they have as people, right? There's a part when the disciples are speaking with Jesus and he's talking about who's going to be on my left and who's going to be on my right hand side, from the disciples. And then Jesus Christ was upset and saying, no, that's how the Gentiles talk. You don't talk like that. Like, if you want to be the greatest, it's not like, the hierarchy of who's on my left or right. If you want to be the greatest, then be the least. Be the servant, right? Be the one who helps your people the most. That's the greatest. That's in the kingdom, right? So the whole concept of a hierarchy and morality and all those things, it's not just about what you do on a holy day. It's also about adopting the lifestyle and the characteristics and perspectives of the nations and what they value. You're valuing too, so your value system is there, right? And so that's a part of it. And this is one of the parts where you see that sort of manifest. So even like you're mentioning about how even environments or society where they have kings, it's not like it's always a peaceful transition from one to the other, right? The brother will kill brother, and an uncle will come and kill the nephew, and all
son to
these
try to
things.
kill a father.
Absolutely, because they want to be king, and so it's the mindset that we see taking over, in Israel, right? Because this is um, most of the time we're seeing sort of like, oh, how the other people oppress us, but not so much how we oppress ourselves,
Mm.
right? And this is a good example of that. And in my mind, as I'm reading through the story, I'm just like, I mean, no matter what, let's say there is a king, right? I'm the brother to the king.
Regardless.
What more? I don't like. Why do I have to be the king? You know
My
what I mean?
house is
Like,
free. Yeah.
I'm in the top 1% of the top 1% of the top 1%. You know what I'm saying? I mean, anything I want, I desire, everyone's looking at. I mean, I'm the brother to the king. There's nothing much more than why do I have to be the king? To the point that I'm gonna kill my brother so I can have that spot. Like that comes from a really dark place,
Oh yeah.
And then you can say he was mistreated.
you know. Yeah, hey, it could be. They're right. 100%. It could have been. It could stem from that. Absolutely. That's not. I mean, not an excuse, but psychologically, people, have those things because he wasn't there. But still, it's still hard. And also, I want to bring your attention to something too, right? Even with that said, if we go back to chapter 8 again, there's not a slide for this, but I just want to bring your attention to this. Again, Gideon was he was someone who's very worthy to be honored for the things that he did in saving us from our enemies. And so much so that they wanted to make him king. And I'm reading Judges chapter 8, verse 22, right? Judges chapter 8, verse 22. Then the men of Israel said unto Gideon, rule thou over us, both thou and thy son, and thy son's sons also, for thou hast delivered us from the hand of the Midian. So to the children of Israel, we're asking, yeah, you should be our king because we saw what you did. We know God is with you. Rule over us. They're like, he's not asking them. They're asking him. Not just you, but you and your sons, right? And what's Gideon's answer? Verse 23. And Gideon said unto them, I will not rule over you, neither shall my son rule over you. The Lord shall rule over you. Yeah. Kudos to Gideon, right? For giving that right answer. And he must have instructed his sons the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. So again, on so many levels, you see how wrong this is, the direction that Abimelech is going, right? That this question's already been asked and answered. And it's like, no, you're not, this is not, we're not following that structure of the other nations, right? You sons will not be kings over the people. God of Israel is king over the people. And we see Abimelech going totally left to the point of not only wanting to be king against his father's wishes, against the culture that we have, but also to the extent that he would kill all, not just one or two, but all.
Yeah, the whole line. Yeah,
absolutely. To make sure that there's no threat.
Right.
But one got away. All right. So again, that's why we talk about the unity and brotherly love and how important it is if we don't treasure that. Again, when Jesus Christ was here and a man went up to him and said, what's the most important commandment? And he said, here's what the Lord our God is one. And the second one is just like unto it. Love your brethren as yourself, right? Like it's important that we value that and treasure that and guard that, because that also is an area that can be utilized to divide us and keep us from building what we were supposed to be building.
Oh yeah, can't be a nation with one.
There you go. All right, let's go into the next slide then. Let's keep going and see what happened after he kills all of his brethren. And all except Jotham, right? So they made him king. So, hey, and then on one level, this is the first king of Israel. On one level.
Yeah.
All right. You want to read the next one, Shelby? This one?
Sure. And when they told it to Jotham, he went and stood at the top of Mount Gerizim, mm-hmm. and lifted up his voice and cried and said unto them, hearken unto me, ye men of Shechem, that God may hearken unto you. The trees went forth on a time to anoint a king over them. And they said unto the olive tree, reign thou over us. But the olive tree said unto them, should I leave my fatness, wherewith by me they honor God and man, and go to be promoted over the trees? Should we go to the next?
Well, pause there a second, because Now we're getting into what may be called like
Oh
a
yeah,
parable. It's like a parable, right?
yeah.
What kind of we're going to analyze it, but just generally speaking, what are you getting from this one part, Minister Anthony?
Oh, I mean, just look at the context, right? A tree asking an olive tree to reign over them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at the imagery, and I love this the imagery here. Which one would just looking at it? Which one will we conceive to be the stronger of the two?
Mm-hmm.
Right. What's the tree?
Right, and that's how, like, why would you weaken yourself
Mm-hmm.
in order to lift something like in order to lift this up above you?
Mm-hmm.
It has no power, no substance over you whatsoever. Right. I love the response, right, in verse 9 of the olive tree, right? Even the olive tree said, "Should I leave my fatness, wherewith they by me they honor God and man?" Like, oh my goodness, like I love this verse so much, or this chapter, because of the illustration, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think about what an olive tree gives
Mm-hmm.
and what it does, right? And as man uses it, right? And the God of Israel created, so we know it gives the God of Israel honor every day.
For sure.
And for man, I know I love eating olives.
Yeah.
So I love the illustration of this, and just how is being brought forth to even show that, like you said, the mindset,
Yeah.
to even have that mindset, which
Yeah.
is what Israel was thinking at this time.
Yeah.
I think about what you just said about them asking Gilead to be their king and him saying no,
Right.
I won't.
Right. Right.
Good
Yeah.
point.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Again, yes. So Jotham definitely understood the assignment, right, from
Oh
his
yeah,
father, right, and they're very clear. And olives is a very valuable thing, right? It's the fruit, of course. We talked about this before in prior lessons, and it was again going back to when I went out to Spain and I saw the vastness of the olive industry and how that was an industry that we started as Israel, right? And that utilizing food, but also oils. It's also used for
yes,
anointing,
yes,
right? It's used in so many things. There's just like it's the foundation of one of the most foundational products in our whole nation, right? Is olives. So it has a value. And the thing is, like, you can look over there and see that being valuable. That don't mean it's for you. You know what I mean? Like you said, you're a tree. You have a job. You have something to do, and it has a job. So it should leave its job and come and now respond to you and your needs because it's two different things. The imagery and I think the parallel, the metaphor, I think is very good. But it keeps going. So let's keep going to the next one. Let's keep going. It's trying to make its point. Next slide.
Mhm. The next one. And let me see, this 10. And the tree said to the fig tree, "Come thou and reign over us." But the fig tree said unto them, "Should I forsake my sweetness and my good fruit and go be promoted over the trees?"
Mm-hmm. Same thing. Keep going. Next slide.
12. Then said the trees unto the vine, "Come thou and reign over us." And the vine said unto them, "Should I leave my wine, which cheereth God and man, and go to be promoted over the trees?"
Mm-hmm.
I think that's funny. They like, the tree kind of boring. No, but 14. Then said all the trees unto the bramble, "Come thou and reign over us." And the bramble said unto the trees, "If in truth ye anoint me king over you, then come and put your trust in my shadow. And if not, let fire come out of the bramble and devour the cedars of Lebanon."
Mm.
Hmm.
Huh.
woo,
What's
man.
what's the
That's why.
imagery? What's the
Oh man,
imagery? Yeah.
I mean, literally, come is telling a tree, right? Who who gets his life from sunshine, and to say, "Come and put your trust in my shadow."
Mm-hmm.
Like, essentially, come and kill yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Come
Right.
take away all that can give you life, to come put the trust in the shadow.
Mm-hmm.
which is like this imagery is again, like you said, the metaphor
Mm-hmm.
for what was for Abimelech and what he did, but
Mm-hmm.
it's so beautifully put by Jotham, and
Mm-hmm.
to really bring it home for them to really understand. As you mentioned, even the illustration, right? This was a Israel would know this better than anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But the olive tree, the fig tree, and everything else, even the bramble,
Mm-hmm.
to even look at it and be like, "Do you guys realize what you're asking and
Right.
what
Right.
you're what you're putting yourself in?"
Mm-hmm. What's going to become of you? What do you
Oh
think?
man, it's I love it. It's beautiful. It's
Mm-hmm.
sad but beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But to be denied by the first two, and then hear the bramble like, yeah, I'll do it if you get behind me. We the lowest of the low, but you
Right.
want you the tree, but you want to get behind us. Okay, fine, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Right.
think it's funny. I like
Right. Right. I think. I mean, we could take that so many ways because that's exactly what Israel does when we follow other nations,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
right? And we follow other cultures, and they're like, you want to follow us? Okay.
Hey, like we're getting everything from you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come and put your
Right.
trust in my shadow.
Right.
Come and put
Exactly.
your candle under. Come and put your candle under this bushel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't
Exactly.
worry about shining your light anymore.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Right.
Corrine said Israel had a mental thinking of having to see someone to rule over them.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mm.
they wanted to be like the other nations.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly,
Want to be like the other. Yes, yes,
which is
um,
it's tough.
for sure. All right, let's keep going then. Let's see. Let's see. So Jotham says this parable, and then the next slide, he gets into, and I'll read that.
Okay.
Now, therefore, if ye have done truly and sincerely, and that ye have made Abimelech king, and if ye have dealt well with Jeroboam and his house, and have done unto him according to the deserving of his hands, for my father fought for you, and adventured his life far, and delivered you out of the hand of Midian, and ye are risen up against my father's house this day, and have slain his sons 60 persons upon one stone, and have made Abimelech the son of his maidservant king over the men of Shechem, because he is your brother. If ye then have dealt truly and sincerely with Jeroboam and with his house this day, then rejoice ye in Abimelech, and let him also rejoice in you. But if not, let fire come out from Abimelech and devour the men of Shechem and the house of Milo, and let fire come out from the men of Shechem and from the house of Milo and devour Abimelech. And Jotham ran away and fled and went to Beer and dwelt there for fear of Abimelech his brother.
Mm.
So he puts this curse on them.
Oh yeah. Hey, if you done nothing wrong, hey, then I guess you're right.
Yeah.
I guess everything is fulfilled. But if not, then all of this is destroyed.
Right.
Mhm.
That's the tugging on the heartstring there.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
then makes you start second guessing everything.
Yeah.
Right. Then he took
Then
off.
he goes away. Then he took off. So you can imagine the men were like, whatever.
Oh, because the emotion,
Yeah,
you imagine the emotion in which he's speaking with. His
absolutely.
brothers were slain.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So he's seeing him, and it's like, probably tears are coming down,
Mm-hmm.
screaming, high pitched voice,
Mhm.
and really just, telling them. And they're looking at him like, what is wrong with him?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, he'll be okay. And then he runs like, oh, don't worry about him.
Yeah.
I think Minister Anthony gonna write a script. I think he's gonna write the script.
For this, yeah. You want to see it on the film, right? You want to see it on the film.
Hey, let's do it. Let's do it.
I can
Let's
see
make it
it. I
happen.
can see it.
Mhm.
All right. Well, let's see. Let's see what happens. I mean, right now it's, I don't know, not looking good for Israel, but let's see what happens out of this. Let's go to the next slide. You want to read that, Felicia? Can you see it?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay.
When Abimelech had reigned 3 years over Israel, then God sent an evil spirit between Abimelech and the men of Shechem, and the men of Shechem dealt treacherously with Abimelech, that the cruelty done to the 60 sons of Jerubbaal might come, and their blood be laid upon Abimelech their brother, which slew them, and upon the men of Shechem, which aided him in the killing of his brethren. And the men of Shechem set liers in wait for him in the top of the mountains, and they robbed all that came along that way by them. And it was told Abimelech. And Gaal, the son of Ebed, came with his brethren and went over to Shechem, and the men of Shechem put their confidence in him. And they went out into the fields and gathered in their vineyards and trode the grapes and made merry and went into the house of their God and did eat and drink and cursed Abimelech.
Hmm.
My. What a turn.
So it started out, 3 years he's ruling over. Probably everything's going well. And probably would have continued to go well, but the God of Israel sent an evil spirit. God of Israel sent an evil spirit to cause the confusion between the two. What do you think about that? God of
Oh,
Israel, evil spirit.
absolutely. Then we were talking about that, right? Evil in the terms of which we see it, because it's different, right? Because it causes turmoil or things of that nature, right? But we talk about the God of Israel's perspective is different, right? Or his thoughts are not our thoughts. So much, and this goes to a different scripture. When he asked, I think in the book of Isaiah, when he asked for a lion spirit, and they were like, "Yeah, I'll do it." It was almost like a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Say, "Hey, I'll do it. I want to go and do it. I want to go and do it."
Mm-hmm.
And it just gives a different perspective, right? Again, we know the whole concept of God of love. Won't do this, won't do that. It's a falsehood. It's a narrative that's a narrative that you won't find in the scriptures. You won't find it anywhere with any Israelites. But this is real. This is true. It's like, okay, this is how we're going to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love most about it is essentially, right, it's like he listened to Jotham and was like, hey, what Jotham said is exactly what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love that the connection we have with the God of Israel, which is why our words are so important.
Mm-hmm.
And what we say and when we say it, and the emotion and which how we say it, and even where it's coming from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because something could have gotten inside of Jotham to make him even express that at that time.
Right.
Almost like the chicken or the egg situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that the analogy? Chicken and the egg.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What comes first, right?
Right.
Yeah. And we see that but the God of Israel sending the evil spirit is like, whew, that's I don't want to be on the receiving end of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like they okay. Trisha Sam says, see how he goes to the temple of God with wine? When in Israel, our God says to not come before him with wine or strong drink.
True.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good point. Absolutely. You see the difference of the contrast right there,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the different cultures. Corinne says Abimelech time had come to be removed and most likely judged for the wickedness of killing 70 of his brothers to be on top.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So we see that, and it says that specifically that's a part of it, and it's just the idea again that these individuals have no idea. Like we're reading it, like you say, Minister Anthony, we're reading this, what's happening, but the people who are doing it don't know that this is an evil spirit. Of
No
God.
concept. They have no concept why
They
their
think they're
thoughts.
just following their own thoughts in their own minds about what they're doing, and to them it's like, I don't know. Yesterday everything seemed fine. Today it's like, why are we serving this guy?
Like, I hate
Why
him.
do we make this guy king? I don't care
let's
why we
kill him.
serve this guy. Yeah.
It is such a. It's so trippy to even think about.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's like, oh, our thoughts are our own thoughts. It's like, how do you know?
Yeah, no.
How do you know where they came from? How do you know what's being fed to you, almost in a sense, to cause this to happen? And you know something else with this story, I often think about because we see it over and over in Kings. And you recently see the beginning of it here is that when one starts to lead the other people away, right? If they die doing some craziness, right, they get dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
But the anger of the God of Israel really gets fired up when you start leading others in a nation astray.
Right.
when
Right.
it starts to be that group thought mentality,
Yes.
that's when it's really like, oh no. Because now you're influencing others to follow that same, like you said, that same bad mindset.
Right.
Once that seed is planted and now others are taking it on, it's like, I mean, I know we're gonna continue on with the story, but like we just talked about, like, look at the people of Shechem.
Mm-hmm.
They're just living.
Mm-hmm.
They're just living like, hey, we have no idea what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, let's keep going. Let's go to the next slide. We'll see. We'll see how what happens here. So we see that the division is there. We see that they're like, why are we serving this guy? You have other individuals who like, go to the next slide. And the men of Shechem sent liars in wait for him in the top of the mountains, and they robbed all that came along that way by them, and it was told Abimelech, right? So they're like, we're not really into this anymore. And Gaal, the son of Ebed, came with his brethren and went over to Shechem, and the men of Shechem put their confidence in him. And they went out into the fields and gathered their vineyards and their grapes and made merry in the house of their God and cursed Abimelech. Okay, and Gaal, the son of Ebed, said, who is Abimelech and who is Shechem, that we should serve him? Is not he the son of Jerubbaal? And Zebul, his officer, served the men of Hamar, the son of Shechem, for why should we serve him? So they start that process. So I think from here we're just kind of, we'll talk through this a little bit, and I may read a few verses. I don't have any slide because there's a lot more reading to do. But so in this division here that's already started, he already starts speaking, and it's interesting how powerful words are.
Right.
How powerful words are. Remember, we got here with the whole killing of Gideon's sons, Abimelech taking, being evil and taking course all through words. Right? He spoke to first his brethren in his mother's house, and then he spoke to the family, and then he had the family speak to the men of Shechem, and so it was just all through words. And it's like, okay, yeah, you have a convincing argument, yeah. And so they ended up going down this path, and then even Jotham, right? He had words that he used to say the parable, and then even to curse these men for the injustice that they've done. And now we have this individual God who's coming like, hey, listen, why are we serving this guy? You make me in charge, and then we can do things the way we want to do it, and all these things, not knowing it was the evil spirit from the God of Israel that made that division happen. But anyway, they go in that path, and they start doing this. It gets back to Abimelech. And they come out to all-out war between Abimelech and Gaal. And there's not a slide for this, but I'll read it a little bit. It's still in chapter 9, and I'm gonna start at let's see, 38. I'm starting at verse 38. I'm sorry, 39. And Gaal, that's the individual who said, I should be leader. Why are we serving Abimelech? 39, went out before the men of Shechem and fought with Abimelech. In verse 40, and Abimelech chased him, and he fled before him, and many were overthrown and wounded, even unto the entering of the gate. And Abimelech dwelt at Arumah, and Zebul thrust out Gaal and his brethren, that they should not dwell in Shechem. And it came to pass on the morrow, the people went out into the field, and they told Abimelech. And he took the people and divided into 3 companies, and laid wait in the field, and looked, and behold, the people have come forth out of the city. He rose up against them and smote them. And Abimelech and the company that were with him rushed forward and stood at the entering of the gate of the city. And 2 of the companies ran upon all the people that were in the field and slew them. And Abimelech fought against the city all that day. And he took the city and slew the people that were therein, and beat down the city and sold it with salt. And when all the men of the tower of Shechem heard that they entered into a hold at the house of the God of Berith, and it was told Abimelech that all the men of the tower of Shechem were gathered together. And Abimelech gat him up to Mount Zalmon, he and all the people that were with him. And Abimelech took an axe in his hand and cut down a burrow from the trees, and took it and laid it on his shoulder, and said unto the people that were with him, what ye have seen me do, make haste and do as I have done. And all the people likewise cut down every man his burrow, and followed Abimelech, and put them in the hold, and set the hold on fire upon them, so that all the men of the tower of Shechem died also, about 1,000 men and women. Hope you guys can follow what's going on. Yeah, for sure.
It's a battle.
Right.
It
He
sounds
got
like,
rid of them.
it's like a part of what the words of Jotham was coming.
Oh yeah,
True.
I mean, true. That's right.
either a follow and be burned down.
1,000 of them in the tower alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And all this because the evil spirit came to make this division between the two. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, man, it's trippy.
Yes.
Hey, you're just out, in the field doing your thing, living life, and all because maybe you agree with Abimelech, right? You don't know the background story, and now you happen to be in this tower.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. It is
Yes.
just crazy.
All right. So it's not over yet. There's another part to this. And I'm reading verse 50. And when Abimelech to Thebez and encamped against Thebez and took it. But there was a strong tower within the city, and thither fled all the men and women and all the they of the city, and shut it to them, and gat them up to the top of the tower. And Abimelech came into the tower and fought against it, and went hard into the door of the tower to burn it with fire. He's going to do the same thing like he did.
Yeah.
But a certain woman cast a piece of millstone upon Abimelech's head, and all to break his skull. Then he called hastily unto the young man and his armor bearer, and said to him, Draw thy sword and slay me, that men say not of me, a woman slew him. And his young man thrust him through, and he died. And when the men of Israel saw that Abimelech was dead, they departed every man unto his place. Thus God rendered the wickedness of Abimelech, which he did unto his father, in slaying his 70 brethren. And all the evil of the men of Shechem did God render upon their heads, and upon them came the curse of Jotham, the son of Jeroboam.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Wow.
So through all of that, when we talk about the God of Israel and peace, when that happened, is like once Abimelech he sent the evil spirit, and then Abimelech was taken care of, and then everybody just went home.
Right.
Like it was just peace after that. Like
Right.
The spirit's job was done.
Right.
But you know what? What a waste.
Mm-hmm.
What a waste of time.
Yeah.
Like, think about everything that Israel could have been doing at this time.
Right.
But you have this situation going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it's such a waste of just everything, of resources,
Yeah.
a waste of, everything. It's just nonsense.
But it, to me, these stories and digging into it, the character of these people, if you take your head out of the Bible and look around the world today, who are these people? Who we're talking about? Who fits this characteristic, right? We have a situation where they are surrounded by enemies on every side, right? They're surrounded by enemies on every side, and enemies take every chance to try to come in and try to attack them and oppress them and these various things. But yet and still, what we just read for the day, for the past hour, almost hour and a half, all of it is internal fighting. We're fighting amongst ourselves.
Right.
We're fighting, like he said, such a waste of time. Look at all the work Gideon did to throw out the enemy. Mm-hmm. But if we don't structure the culture correctly, the enemy is within.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, that's we have to see that it's not just about what they're doing to us, it's what we're doing to ourselves. Because We're not applying the laws, statutes, commandments to our life, not just on a holy day, but in our own mindset and the values that we have in our households, in our relationships with one another, and our commitment to love one another as much as we love the God of Israel. Sounds easy, but I'm not. Look at where it leads. Amen. God of Israel shows us his emotional response to perceived wrong and injustice. Even his wrath is holy and justified when you understand our Father.
Yeah.
Absolutely, right. Yeah, you look at that, right. And let's tell what Mr. Anthony said, right? Someone who's just looking at it be like, oh my goodness,
right.
Look how terrible this is, and it's terrible. But you don't understand the full story, right? This is the chickens coming home to roost. This is a fulfillment of what's going to happen when you put your life in the path following other people. Like you said, Shelby, you have no idea what the outcome is going to be. You're just thinking it's going to, I'm just making a good decision here based on what I see around me. But, we always have to be checking ourselves and with one another to make sure that we're in line, with the God of Israel and the calling that he's called us for.
Oh yeah. I was thinking about it's like 20 years ago what everybody was doing. Nobody considered themselves bad people or evil people of what they were doing, right? Similar similar situation. And something may happen or that'll be considered tragic, but it's like, hey, wait a minute, this is you were forsaking the God of Israel before you even knew who the God of Israel even was.
Right.
And doing those things and following that, which is why right now we're in a better place, but also the responsibility is even greater now because it's up to us to always, like you said, be on that straight and narrow path and never look to, I guess, internalize too much or look over somebody else's shoulder to say, hey, what's going on over there? Or what's the situation? Or what's this situation?
I'm sorry, were the people of Shechem Israelites as well?
Yes.
Okay, well, my question, because, then a house divided just not going to stand because then they were worshiping different gods and then other people were worshiping the God of Israel and they all fighting against each other. So they taking wine in their temple, right? And partying this way and that way. And, other people are trying to worship God of Israel the right way. So I don't see how, it's almost like today, if we're trying to worship the God of Israel correctly and keeping the commandments, statutes, and laws, and then we have Jacobites who are worshiping their gods and stuff, it's the same difference today. I mean, the house is still divided.
Oh, yeah.
The same exact thing that was happening back then is still happening today.
That's right.
So the cycle is still going on.
That's right. That's why I said when you take your head out of the book and look around the world, who are we talking about? What people fit this characteristic that you just said to the T? You don't have to even try to match it up. It's like it's a no-brainer. Like you said, it's that
you just look down the hall in your own house sometimes.
Right. That's right there. It's right there, right under your nose for sure. Yeah. That's someone. Tina said nothing new under the sun. 100%. That's right. For real.
Oh yeah.
So let's keep going because we have but to me again, we talk about judges again. We're talking about it's like following other gods, but understand it's not just the religious aspect of it; it's the value system of adopting it as well that causes us going down this path as well.
So it go back to what you were saying, Elder Jeffries, about the when Christ made the statement about what's the first two laws the most important, and it goes back to the second one, which is the brother. This is part of the example of why that was such a focus. You know what I mean? And you can feel that. You can just feel it when we read it. Like, wow.
Yeah, for sure, 100%, and that's why that's something to check ourselves on to make sure we are following God as much as we check on how much are we following the God of Israel. All right. So let's go into the next one. And so if you go where we are next, because we're finished with Abimelech in Judges chapter 9. We get into chapter 10. And again, unfortunately, again, this is repeated over and over again. You wanna read it, Minister Anthony? Can you?
Oh yeah, enslaved to Ammon, Judges 10. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord, and served Baalim and Ashtaroth, and the gods of Syria, and the gods of Zidon, and the gods of Moab, and the gods of the children of Ammon, and the gods of the Philistines, and forsook the Lord, and served not him. And the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel. And he sold them into the hands of the Philistines and into the hands of the children of Ammon.
Right. So it's a tape recorder over and over and over again. And it's sort of like what you just said, Felicia. It's like today, right? I don't know. You got Methodists, you got Seventh-day Adventists, you got Baptists, you got, I don't know. Keep going. I don't know. What else you got? Spiritualists. You got all these things, right, that you're going to find in the Black community, right? All these other, things that people are I'll go over all this. So it's like anything, right? Anything
just
is
hold
game,
on to it.
right? And these are Israelites that are following these cultures and being drawn away to these various things, following the gods of the people that are around us.
Right.
So, again, so God of Israel is hot against, Lord is hot against Israel.
Oh yeah.
Back again to the cycle. So it's almost like, it's frustrating reading it.
Yeah.
I can imagine to some degree how frustrating it is to the God of Israel
Oh yeah.
going through it, right? Because this is part 4, right? We've been spending what is this, like 6 hours, 9 hours on this, and we're like, all this work Gideon did, all the work that Jael did, all the work that Deborah did, all the work that all the judges did, and there's many judges that they just mentioned, right? In between as well, all the work that was done just to come back to this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, come back to
How
just
frustrating is that? Do you guys feel stressed just reading it? Does it frustrate you?
Oh yeah.
So you can imagine going through it, right? How frustrating that could be.
Yeah. But I do like, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead, Chef.
I do like, and I think Dion put it in the comments earlier. I do like that it shows so much with the God of Israel of how we would do things and then he would turn around. He's really showing his parenting skills, right? We get in trouble, we do something wrong, he allow us to be enslaved, and then he come back because we crying out like kids and I'm sorry. Now we want to get saved, and he saves us. I think I love this because it just shows his character. It just shows all the different parenthood things he does.
What won't a parent do for their child?
Right.
Exactly.
And I was thinking about that yesterday, and I was like, what wouldn't a parent do for their child? And I said to the God of Israel as I lay there, I said, I have about the size of a cell of in my body of understanding of how you feel as a parent, God of Israel, with these people.
Yeah.
Because I am a parent, with these people.
Yes.
Because there's not the only thing that keeps me from in line as to what I would not do for my child is or are the commandments, statutes, and laws. That's the only line that keeps me from crossing over a line with my children, are the commandments, statutes, and laws. Because if I did not have those, there would not be anything that I would not do for my children.
Good point.
Robin Aviles says, sad story. They didn't want the God of Israel as their king. Therefore, they caused trouble and destruction for themselves. They should have listened to Gideon. They should have. They should have.
Oh yeah.
Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Next slide.
And that year, they vexed and oppressed the children of Israel 18 years. All the children of Israel that were on the other side of Jordan in the land of the Amorites, which is in Gilead. Moreover, the children of Ammon passed over Jordan to fight also against Judah and against Benjamin and against the house of Ephraim, so that Israel was sore distressed.
Yeah.
So I
pulled the map up there so you can see where Ammon is. Who is Ammon again? Do you guys remember?
It's part of the family. Well, the overall. The Moabites, they both from Lot.
That's correct. Yes.
Oh, okay. I know Moabites was. I forgot.
Yeah. So Lot had 2 with his daughters. One is Ammon, one is Moab. And so you can see on the other side of the Jordan that's where Ammon is. And so not only were they oppressing us on that side, our tribes that live over there, but also they crossed the Jordan even over to Ephraim, even over to Judah, even over to Benjamin. So they came in even beyond that geographic area.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay. All right.
And it's just I did want to say the concept of us whoring after God. We're selling ourselves to these gods. Like, it's a reason that word is being used, right? It's not like they come in and forcing us into this situation.
Right.
We're willingly going and saying, yes, give us your gods.
Yes.
Like that. Oh man. I mean, it's same thing like today.
Oh yeah.
There's nobody knocking on the front door unless they got that pamphlet in their hand. Other than that, there's nobody coming to your door saying, "Hey, come and do this, come and do that." Right? People will drive hours upon hours to go to this building to go and worship their gods.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And think of all the things that drive people to do that. You know, what is out there in society that puts it within me that I want to go follow that. I want to go follow there. I want to go there. I want
Is
to go there, right? What is it? Something I want to be a part of, something that's missing, something that looks like it's appealing, this concept of morality and goodness, like all the whatever it is, all these things that drive, individuals to go in that particular direction. And I guess we have to be thankful to the mercy of the God of Israel, thankful to the sacrifices of Elder Shadrach in teaching us these ways, because we would be
oh yeah,
right there with them, everyone else, trying to fill that gap with us or whatever those motivations are. But for some reason, a waking up was happening, the desire to serve the true and living God, and we give it an opportunity. We don't want to take it lightly. See Field, this is why I'm so thankful to our master teacher, Elder Shadrach, because he's making sure we're getting the truth so as not to make the same mistakes our ancestors did. Absolutely. But we have to, history, we have to study our ancestors to make
yes,
sure we don't follow, right? We just can't have a basic high level notion. We got to study deeply as to why would they make decision A and B after having all these things that are around them, like, the good things around them, so that we can don't fall prey to that. You know what I mean? Like, I think the
yeah,
details
because they knew who they were.
matter. Exactly. Corrine says it shows that the people of Israel really just followed the judges, totally forgetting that it should be the God of Israel. It's an interesting thing. Yeah, that I can see discussing that and making that distinction for sure.
Oh yeah,
See that? I can see that. Okay, let's go to the next slide. I definitely want to finish this up. All right.
and the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, saying, "We have sinned against thee, both because we have forsaken our God and also served Baalim." And the Lord said unto the
I
children,
like that. I'm sorry. I like that. There's two things, right? It's not just for one thing. It's two things, and they're distinct from one another.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of times you wonder, maybe they did number one, and that's what caused number two. You know what I mean? So the first thing is that they forsook their God.
Yeah.
The second thing is that they served this other God.
another God.
They're two distinct things, right? And so I just, yeah. I'm sorry.
No. Same. I feel the same. Verse 11. And the Lord said unto the children of Israel, Did not I deliver you from the Egyptians, and from the Amorites, from the children of Ammon, and from the Philistines, the Zidonians also, and Alamakites, and the Manites did oppress you, and ye cried to me, and I delivered you out of their hand. Yet ye have forsaken me, and served other gods. Wherefore I will deliver you no more. Go and cry unto the gods which ye have chosen. Let them deliver you in the time of your tribulation.
See, there it is. That's showing. He's showing all of it. Like, yeah, you know what? You go over there and serve and cry unto the other guys. I love just how how the God of Israel just shows his personality. Like, this is natural. This is how we would feel. This is how you would feel as a parent if your kids did you this way. This is exactly how you
over and over and over and over. Yeah.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, right? Because it's we're as a parent, earthly, we're dealing with an individual through their lifetime, right?
Mm-hmm.
That same individual. Here, he's dealing with generations.
Right.
He's dealing with generations, right? It's like over and over again, and it's at a higher level. And so it's almost like the expectation of how each generation should be grooming the next generation, I think, is built into that.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like you should learn from what your parents did.
It should be
you should learn from what your grandparents did. You should learn from the culture that's been laid down. Like he goes to the history all the way back to Egypt, right? All the way back. He's like, it's not just you in your lifetime, but you're being held accountable for the experiences of your forefathers.
Right.
You should have learned from you saw what they did. Again, the good and the bad. You saw what happened. You saw these things, how I saved them over and over. But he says, I saved you from the Egyptians.
Right.
Again, it's one of those things you talk about Israel. It's not just me and myself, right? I'm an Israelite only because I'm a part of Israel. And Israel is, whether we're geographically together or wherever we are connected, right, as a people. But we're also connected even to our forefathers who have gone on from before.
Yeah.
Right? We share the blessings, and we also are accountable and share the responsibilities of even their shortcomings, right? But we also have the responsibility too for the future generations that haven't even been born yet. Like, our job is very, much pivotal, right, at this time, right? Whatever blessings that we're given this time is not meant just for us to make it through the day. It's meant to invest to make sure we're building what will be sustained even beyond us.
Oh yeah.
I think sometimes it's hard for us to think. We're so busy with the trials of the day.
Here and now.
It's hard for us to really understand our role, as vast as it really is, and how valuable and important and pivotal it really is.
Oh, 100%, 200%. Like you said, we're so stuck on ourselves, to be truthfully, that we don't even see as far as our children's lifetime, and establishing something even for them, in order for them to be successful. And in this case, it's the ultimate act of, hey man, he's upset, he's angry, rightfully so, rightfully so, right? It's like, I don't care that you're crying out. Like listen to me. Like a parent would say, I'm tired. I am tired.
Right.
I have done. Look at what I have done for you.
Yes.
And you keep doing this. The fact that you can acknowledge what you've done,
Right.
without me even sitting the judge to tell you, you are self-aware to know what you've done, and then you're crying out to me. It's like, what do you want me to do?
Right.
And that's why they respond, hey, go cry into their gods. You love them so much, go tell them to go and rescue you.
Yeah. And it says that line twice, right? He says, you have forsaken your God and went and served. He says it twice in that scripture. In that one, scripture, he says it twice. It goes down, and he's like, you doing this, and you know. So yeah, this is wild.
All right, let's go on to the next slide.
And the children of Israel said unto the Lord, we have sinned. Do thou unto us whatsoever seemeth good unto thee. Deliver us only, we pray thee, this day. And they put away the strange gods from among them and served the Lord. And his soul was grieved for the misery of Israel.
Okay, let's pause there a second.
Oh, yeah.
Pause there a second. Again, just,
I don't want to hear my.
So wait, we just went to the last slide, right? And the God of Israel said, "I will not deliver you anymore." Full stop. Right? You heard that, right? You heard him say that, right?
Oh yeah, go and cry unto them.
I will not deliver you anymore. Right? So to me, it just reminds going back to like, Israel no more. God forbid. Right, it's like,
right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, sure. God of Israel's upset. Yeah, sure. He gives the Gentiles grafting for a little bit, but trust me, you're just like a parent. You just talked about it, Felicia. Just like a parent, as much as you'll be like, you're kicked out, you're doing this or whatever.
Exactly.
If I don't care what that child has done, if that child comes back to me
and is humble and tore up from the floor up,
not just with words.
Exactly.
What they did, not just with words, but with actions, whatever.
Exactly.
What parent is going to just turn their back and not turn back around?
What did the Christ say? What child, if they ask for bread, you're going to give them a stone? I'm not.
Right.
I'll give you some bread.
Right. Absolutely. And you're going to give them that mercy, right? Because you're, I mean, it's like almost you have to be a parent to almost understand, right? Because you're a parent, and you know that they're knuckleheaded kids are going to make mistakes and going to stumble and fall and whatever, and they've suffered, and they've been suffering, and it's whatever, and now they want to come back, and hopefully that's as sincere as possible. The only way I can judge that is by their actions, and they're doing the right actions, they're doing the right things. So you're gonna give them, you're gonna be overpouring and trying to help them as much as possible, because actually they're struggling, even more than the one who may be doing the right thing. Right. Maybe that's not right, but the one that's struggling is the one that needs you the most, right? And so you're gonna do your best to try to help them along the way to get them on the path that they need to be. Kareen says, "I have that character trait inside of me. God forbid. I hope I never forget and continually embrace to serve the God of Israel now that I know the truth. Amen to the God of Israel for sending Elder Shadrach." Amen. So let's go back. I don't think we finished it, but I just wanted to kind of see that. Although the God of Israel was very stern, about it, and he doesn't lie or exaggerate, or it's not hyperbole.
Oh no, I mean his soul was grieved for the
Yeah,
misery of Israel. Like
really, yes,
man, like I mean, again the illustration,
Yeah.
right? When you grieve, right, you're just sad, you're down,
Yeah.
you're just down, right? He's down, right? There's no happiness, no joy. It's like man, I can't ignore them. I can't ignore them,
yes,
right? You can't shut the ear off.
yeah,
They had
Verse,
to be in a sorry state because they have been in some bad spots, but they had
yeah.
to be in a real sorry state to
I'm
grieve.
with you.
oh yeah,
I was the one if you had time. No, don't go
go
there yet.
back, go back, go back.
Go back. We ain't get that up.
That's verse 17.
I'm with you, Felicia, for a second, right? I'm with you, Felicia. I was thinking the same thing, and I was like, oh, we're definitely probably gonna end in this slide anyway. So we pick our time a little bit. Like I'm trying to visualize how bad was it. Like some of the descriptions we've read before, like even during Gideon's time, we talked about how they was so bad during Gideon's time they couldn't even like sow their fields. They had to hide out in the caves because they would just take everything from them, right? And,
Mhm.
and it was just so. Even Gideon was like, I've heard the stories about Egypt and all that, but what I see, I don't think God is with us because this is terrible. This is
This is like there's no way we could be God's people living like
right.
this.
Yeah, exactly. Even he had to be shown and proven so many times that God is talking to him. And he's
It's hard out here.
yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. And so right now you wonder, wow, but even that didn't drive them to follow the God of Israel, right? It wasn't until they got delivered. But here in this situation, it's so bad that they are like, they said, we are going to serve you, God of Israel. Even before you send your deliverer, do whatever you want to do for us, just get us out of this situation. Please. And I mean, I don't know, it makes me I feel like a good feeling here when I see that our forefathers actually, did that. Like they were like, we're taking away our gods. And this is while they're being oppressed. I'm taking away our gods, I'm doing all this. We're going to serve
throwing
you
everything away.
before we get the blessing from you. We want to come back to you because yeah, this is no joke. Woo. So it reminds me of the prodigal son,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was. So how bad was it? Like, what do you visualize?
Right.
Yeah.
I look at it as just, when you discipline your kids and they just cry and cry. It's like you tell them they can't have a toy or something. It's just so sad and so down. And then you turn around and just say, okay, all right, I'm gonna come and get y'all. I'm sorry. I feel bad. You feel so bad inside as a parent. Just sometime when you discipline, even though hey, I have to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think, that's true, but I think it's the part here that I want to stress. It wasn't tears that got the God of Israel.
No.
Right.
It was the fact that they did a 180. They did a 180. 360 go back the same way. 180 to go like, we're going to put away those gods. We're going to serve you. We're going to, you know what I'm saying? I think that's what really,
It was a full self-aware situation that corrected itself.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Without the use of a judge yet.
Oh, thank you, Luncey. Thank you for the donation. Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's rare. We don't see many examples of this.
Right.
We don't see many examples of us acknowledging exactly what we're doing.
Right.
And turning away willingly.
Right.
Normally it's like a force, hey, you guys are doing this, you're doing that.
Right.
But to see them come together.
Judge, right? There's not a judge yet.
Oh yeah. They're coming together all on one accord by themselves. Like at the same token, you can be like, man, you got to feel proud. Like you said, you got to feel proud. Like, look at them coming together.
Yeah.
Like that's what I want.
Yeah, going back to
Psalms
Psalm
take
133.
this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't take this, but them coming together like that, again, grieved his soul.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Yeah, thank you, George, for your donation. Thank you very much. That definitely will help what we do. All right, let's keep going. We're almost there. We got like 5 minutes or so.
Verse 17. Then the children of Ammon were gathered together and encamped at Gilead, and the children of Israel assembled themselves together and encamped at Mizpah. And the children and princes of Gilead said one to another, what man is he that will begin to fight against the children of Ammon? He shall be head over all the inhabitants of Gilead.
Mhm. Okay. And
Enticement.
let's stop there. You can stop there. You got to tune in next time because not even going to stop. Don't even start exactly who is that judge and then what happens. All right, because it's a great story to continue. But I wanted to kind of part of this again is while you have definitely the outside influence, a lot of this is an inside job. I think this week,
Mhm.
is really about the inside job. I think, and the impact either for the positive or the negative. Right? We sort of see the negative when we first start out, but then here we see moving in a positive direction. That yeah, they want deliverance, but they only want deliverance from the God of Israel. I think definitely to salute our forefathers for taking that stance uh, to do that, even while they're being oppressed. So he said, the God of Israel said, "You like serving all those gods? Why don't you go to those gods and let those gods deliver
Leave me
you
alone.
from your calamity?" And he said,
Right?
"No."
Like let the punishment be true. Like go over there. Let the punishment be absolutely true. And
Yeah.
for them to go and like you said, do that again, it's like it's something that pulls at you, but at the same time, it's like this is this is this is crazy. It reminds me. I was laughing earlier because I was thinking about imagine when we were in captivity in Babylon, turning to the Babylonian gods to save us, and knowing what the situation is.
Right.
Like that would be foolishness.
Right.
That would be absolutely foolishness. And here is almost like we know why we're going through this. Like that's the part to me I can't truly comprehend.
Yeah.
We know exactly why we're going through this. Now we turn back. It's like, but why do it in the first place?
Right.
Like you said before, what was so enticing
Right.
to pull you away? Again, the biggest mystery today is who are we?
Right.
Which is that's for them that's not even a concept for them
Yeah.
of who they are, what's the difference is, what the separation is. There's no colorism. There's nothing like that going on. What is so enticing? Because there's no nation. Often when I had this conversation with um, uh, Hebrew Israelites or any different groups like that, I would say, what nation is there that can stand against Israel?
Mm-hmm.
There's no nation on this earth that can stand against Israel.
Right.
It's always going to be internal.
Thank you, Lakeisha. Thank you, Tony Walker, that as well.
Thank you.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be some internal pressure that Israel is facing. Anytime we face a situation where we're losing, where we're something bad is happening, essentially, because there's nothing else that can take it away, right? We're the children of the Creator,
Mm-hmm.
of the Ancient of Days,
Right.
right? We belong to Him. So
But the
how?
problem seems like with Israel, it's always a problem with everybody wanting to be number one. So, and everybody wanting to be in the top position. So maybe it was a lot of infighting, a lot of problems with wanting to be too many chiefs and not enough Indians. I don't know why they were always divided and why they were always worshiping other gods, but just like I think about the present times. You know how we got all these different churches with all these different pastors and everything. Maybe everybody was starting their own thing and they was all the leaders of their own little sects, and I don't know what the heck was going on back then, but they all had their own little churches or their own little gods. I don't know what was going on back then, but power, or the delusions of power or something, because that's what they think they have now, but they don't have it, because if they really wanted it, they would stay where they were at, which is with the God of Israel, you know.
And that's a good point, Felicia. And that's one of the things that why we study this. I mean, obviously, like you said, if we're gonna God of Israel holds us accountable
Mm-hmm.
to be, understanding our history, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to understand it. And so I think we need to know it, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
a part of that too is, okay, once we know what they did and try to, to the best of our ability, get a sense of, how, what, why, when type of stuff, the question is, okay, how does that benefit us today?
Mhm.
How does like what we read today help us today?
Because it
Or
seems
does
like the same thing over and over
just
again.
informational, or is it whatever? And that's why a lot of times, when we talk, we always talk about, not necessarily say them, but say us. We did this. This is what
Mhm.
we did. This is what our forefathers did, because we're we look at them with a finger and saying, oh my goodness, how could they do that? But 99% of us, if we're living back then at that time, we would be right there with them.
And we're still doing it today. I
Exactly.
mean, not us, but
Right, for sure. So, but the thing is, again, looking at it from various different aspects, so that we can be preemptive, in trying to make sure we're doing the right thing,
Right.
individually and collectively. Wow, we're at time, and we got through most of it. I think we had one more judge, and we set it up for next time. So we're going to definitely hit on that next time to see who is going to save us from the Ammonites after we
Shelby was supposed to sing, wasn't he?
I'm sorry?
Wasn't Shelby supposed to sing?
Oh, that's right.
Who was that? Who's
You're lucky, Shelby. We're out of time.
right? It's
Time. So save
can't do it. Have to catch it next time, right?
Catch it next
Because
time.
mercy endure forever.
Catch it next time. I hope you guys appreciate. We went through this. We went by fast, but I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Again, thank you guys, everybody. Again, if you guys hopefully can make it out to St. Louis next week for Bible and the Black Man seminar, Godspeed to everyone who's traveling to St. Louis. Please make sure and like and share this as well. I hope you guys had a great time. Everybody, I say peace.
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 Peace.